officially call the regular scheduled Planning and Traffic Commission meeting of February 22nd to order. And let the record reflect that all commissioners are here with the exception of Jolene Fuentes, and I think she's ill. And so we'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Dale Maida, if you could lead us.
Take the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll start off with public comments, and just as so you know that if anyone wants to address the commission, please give us your name, your city of residence, and make sure you file you want to fill out one of the orange cards there. And you're limited to 3 minutes, so please keep an eye on that, and you'll see with the yellow light will start flashing, and when the red one comes on, please finish your sentence, and that'll be that.
Our first speaker is Heiko Peschel.
Heiko, 4 Perel Avenue, Foothill Ranch, Lake Forest. Welcome to the fresh, I guess it's the second term or first term of the new Planning Commission. No change except some things moving around. I'd like to remind you guys about the problems that we do have in our part of the world. Foothill Ranch is being a little different. And the biggest single problem I think we still have is street sweeping and parking. In many areas, street sweeping is not effective because too many cars are on the road, and parking is the same thing. I would love to encourage someone to come up with an idea of restricting parking, at least during the time of street sweeping. Other than that, the usual dog and pony show, when are we going to get Portola extended into Irvine? And if they want to develop any more out there, can we ask them to pay for that in the process? Anyway, I'll keep it quick. I'll be back later. Thank you.
Thanks.
We don't have any other speakers right now.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to the presentation items. I think we have something. No items, okay. And well, let's go with the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to accept that?
I'll move consent for approval.
I second.
All right, let's vote. She's abstaining. All right, that passed. And so now we'll go to the public hearing.
Yes, Chairman, our first item this evening is a site development permit to establish the Escape the Place, an indoor commercial recreation facility. Jennifer Mansour has the staff report.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. This item is a request for an escape room called Escape the Place at the Foothill Ranch Business Park located on Rancho Parkway South. The escape room, which opened in September of last year, is currently operating without a required site development permit. An escape room is a game wherein a group of participants are put into a themed room. The goal of the game is to work together to find clues and solve puzzles to escape the room before your time is up. The proposed business has 5 different escape games, and each game has a set maximum occupancy. Participants must reserve a room in advance through their online system or with a phone reservation. All the escape rooms are private, and 2 separate parties will not be put together. The schedule for each escape game is staggered to allow the employees to brief the participants before the game and time to reset the escape game after it is used. Therefore, it is unlikely the business will operate at its maximum occupancy at any one particular time. Per the City Zoning Code, the escape room would be considered a commercial recreation use, which requires a site development permit at this location. Due to the unique nature of the use, the City Code does not have a parking requirement for an escape room. Staff reviewed the parking requirements to determine if another use has a similar parking demand to the escape room. Staff determined that given the escape room has similar operational characteristics as a commercial school, that we would use the same parking ratio. The City of Irvine used the same commercial parking ratio for a similar escape room that they approved in 2017. Based on this parking requirement, the escape room requires 19 parking stalls, and the proposed tenant space is allotted 14 parking stalls. The applicant has proposed to share parking with the adjacent tenant, Abilities Unlimited, to meet the city's parking requirement. In accordance with the city's code requirements, the applicant has submitted a shared parking study and agreement that was part of the report that was submitted to you. The conclusion of the study is that the escape room can utilize the parking spaces allotted to the adjacent tenant when they are closed on the weekdays after 2 o'clock and on the weekends. With the shared parking agreement, the business will have access to a total of 24 parking stalls, which will meet the city's parking requirement. A condition of approval requires the applicant to provide the city with a signed shared parking agreement within 30 days. The Foothill Business Park has a variety of different industrial, office, and commercial uses. The peak hours of the escape room are on the weekday evenings and on the weekends, when most of the surrounding businesses in the park are closed. Additionally, by nature, an escape room is not allowed use, and the activity occurs completely within the building. Therefore, the project as conditioned shouldn't have any impacts on the surrounding office, industrial, and commercial businesses. We did receive an email from an owner of the business park opposing the project based on parking, which was provided for you on your dais for your review. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt the resolution approving the site development permit as conditioned. The owner of the escape room is in the audience tonight, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for staff at this point? Okay. And do we want to hear from the applicant? Great. Against name and city.
Hi, my name is Allison Pinsky. I reside in Orange. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So, if you want to go.
Other than not understanding the concept of what
escape
escape room is, I'm envisioning people, shutting a door and then turning out the lights and trying to find out where the door is. But I don't think that is quite it. It sounds like it's more of a game that you're playing, such as Clue or something of that nature, and there's a time frame associated with it similar to something like that.
Yes. So what we do is we have different scenarios. Right now we had 5, but right now we're running 4. They're on, and we invite our guests in. We put them in a room, and they have to solve puzzles, clues, just like you're saying, within an hour in order to lead to their escape. Some people have the idea that it's scary or something like that. All of our escape rooms are suitable for kids and families. We don't have that type. Our is more for team building. We have corporate events where you come and you work as a team, and also for kids and families to come and do team building experiences as well.
Thank you. I want the team building that it would be used for corporations that are trying to build teams.
Yes.
And it's how to solve a problem with interchange between individuals within the team. So it's a business use for the most part.
We had one corporate group come in, and the managers watched their group because they were looking for the dynamics of how their employees work together, who had leadership skills, who had good team building skills, who worked well, communicated well. So they didn't actually play. They were sort of in the viewing room to for their employees.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've got a couple security issues that I just wanted to run by you. Now, I understand from what I said that there will be kind of the employees are on call, as it will be. They come in when there's a session that's been So I know there's one where the employee actually is back in the room and running the scenario and all that stuff. What happens to the front door, and what happens at the front of the business when that happens? Is it going to be open? I mean, is there some way that would prevent somebody just from wandering in and then maybe going into one of the vacant rooms and throwing the sleeping bag down and camping out there, or whatever? I mean, something that you're doing to prevent that, or what happened?
Wow, I never thought about that. So we do have an employee that comes in and will open up and is expecting a certain number of guests based on the reservation made online. And so when that room is completed and they escort their guests out, then they're responsible to close the place. I imagine that within the game, where the employee is actually in the room, if we don't have another game going where there's other staff, he would be leaving, he or she would be leaving alone. Could somebody conceivably, go in while it's being played? I hope that they would notice it, but the door's locked at the end of the game.
Now, there's several rooms, so I'm saying if maybe that would be something you might discuss, if there's a way to. I mean, I know you won't have somebody sitting at the front desk at all times.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want? Please.
I'm Bill Alvarez from the city of Orange also. From where the monitors sit, there's a door and they can see the front door. Also, there's an alarm on the door, so when somebody opens the door, it chirps. Okay. So they know somebody has come in, and they just look back into the lobby to see who is there.
So while they're running the game, as it were, they'll be able to do that.
Right. The door's right there, and they could just look out to see who came in. Alarm sound when they...
Okay. And if somebody's, let's say, wandering by and they just poke in, they want some information. Now I know they want to book stuff online or whatever. Is there a way that somebody could get information and then say, wow, that's great, how about next Wednesday? I'd love to do that, or I have five, can they sign up at the place or online, or do you know?
It's online.
Okay.
The majority is online. If there was more than one employee there, they could absolutely answer questions, and the bookings are done online.
Okay. And the other thing is, so let's say somebody had a group that went in at 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, and then I drove by at 2 o'clock the next Wednesday. Theoretically, that could be locked up, closed, and not open. It just so the hours between the certain hours are going to vary when you guys are open, when you're not.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question on the parking. I did go to an escape room last summer, so I'm familiar with how it works. We had a great time, by the way. We did it with our family, and it was quite an enjoyable activity. Learned a lot about my kids. No, actually, we didn't.
Did you get?
No, we actually ran out of time. Then we found out the real answer. We were all embarrassed. In Mr. Bergstrom's letter, he talked about time. Explain a little bit where that comment's coming from.
I'm not sure where he's getting 53, in all honesty. The most that we can accommodate that was shown in the report was 44, and based on the calculations of including in the parking study, our requirement was going to only be down to 19. The majority of people who come to the escape room carpool. We don't have a lot of individual people coming. In the event that we do, we would have to max out our entire room, all of our rooms, and every single person would have to bring their own car. And even doing that, I'm not sure where he got 53. And in all honesty, I can't accommodate that.
Group did you get?
6.
6.
Because in doing 6, they can do 3 of the rooms. Did you want to comment?
Well, I was just going to say we've had 3 large groups of 60-plus people, and all 3 of those came in buses. The business actually rented a bus, bussed them all there, and then they all bussed out to dinner afterwards. So those are the 3 large groups, like Amazon and I forget 2 groups, but we haven't had 53 cars in that parking lot.
So but these 3 events all open?
No, one of them was on Saturday in the afternoon. In fact, it was a Saturday evening. And the other 2, I cannot remember. They were towards the afternoons on week, during the week. It's usually like when corporations have their weekly meetings, their quarterly meetings around Christmas time, and then they'll come to us after their meetings in the afternoon for something for the out-of-town staff to do, some kind of games or something for them to do. But those are the only 3 that we've had over them.
So say 4 in the afternoon? Much?
Pretty much so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually 4 to 8 at night.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your comment.
Would you share with us the agreement the applicant regarding the parking in case it doesn't work?
So a copy of the draft agreement was with the report.
Right.
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, I don't know if we all aware that there's an agreement of what to do in the event that it doesn't work out quite as they figured. I'm a big fan of shared parking. I think it's important. And I looked at the numbers very carefully, and I don't see any faults in it. That's my thoughts.
Well, bring it up here if you want.
Great. Thank you. So bring it back up here. Anybody have
Yeah, I have a question, and, well, I'll make a statement first, and I have a question. I looked at the parking stalls within that area. There are 42 unassigned stalls, because it appears that each one of the businesses has their parking assigned for those right in front of their building. So I'm curious as to what the concern is with regard to RLB property and Venta Hood. It sounds to me as though they're not able to put it in front and they're somehow encroaching upon Mr. Bergstrom's parking, or is this because it's not a convenient parking? These aren't convenient to most of them, but there's more than 42 that are unassigned parking spots within that deal. I do have a question of staff, and probably it's going to be Gail that's going to have to answer the question, is that this goes with the building, the parking agreement, because it's between the 2 tenants that are currently residing within that unit. If the other unit is sold and a new tenant comes in there, okay, does that necessitate that we're going, one, have to make sure that that tenant signs that parking agreement, and 2, do we have to review it again? I can see where, if you guys stay and someone else leaves, and the owner of the building has not informed the new tenant that this agreement exists, okay, I see potential.
I think I can answer this question.
Can you answer? Okay.
So in the shared parking agreement, the shared agreement, although it will also be signed by the tenants, needs to be signed by the property owner. Both these tenant spaces have the same property owner, and we put in the shared parking agreement number 3 that the property owner ensures that 10 parking stalls allocated to Abilities Unlimited will be available to escape the place even if another tenant comes into the adjacent space. And so we wrote that into the shared parking agreement that the property owner will need to sign.
Okay.
One that leases the tenant space.
Okay. The escape folks, they have the 19 set in stone. My concern is the new person comes in and is aware of that parking arrangement. Is there anything that requires us to be informed of that new parking arrangement we need considered?
I think it would be up to the property owner to
We're out
make
of
sure
it.
that because he signed the agreement, that he would need to adhere to it.
Okay, so we're out of it.
That's right. The property owner and has agreed to share spaces with the escape
Within
room.
this manner.
And having a new tenant come in, he's still bound by that. He signed the shared parking agreement.
Okay. If that parking agreement were needed to be modified, would it then have to come before us again for review and approval? That's my question.
I'll turn to Jennifer to see if we have a condition of approval on that. But that was,
We don't, and that was my next question was, would it be advisable for us to put that in there if in fact there is not one, if it is a situation that would have to be addressed by us in the future?
In the agreement, it does say no amendment or modification of this agreement may be made without prior written to the city attorney.
Okay, so it comes back for that.
Yes, it would have to come back to the city.
Okay, that answers my question, and there's no need then to put that as a condition of approval. Very good.
Operating in that facility?
Since last year.
Okay. And you're just now applying for the permit?
We started the application last December.
October 23rd.
Okay. So this is just working its way through the system.
Yeah, they prepared their shared parking study on their own, so it took a little longer.
Okay. So all around.
To apply for a permit, we were told, well, you don't need a permit in the
City.
that would be it.
Surprise.
That's understandable. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay, so, thank you. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Do we have any further discussion that's necessary out
Anything?
there? If we don't,
think
then
so.
I will make a motion that we close the public hearing and approve the staff's recommendation.
I second the motion.
Okay, let's vote.
Okay, motion passes with Commissioner Fuentes absent.
Gail, we might never come back.
Okay, then we have one discussion item scheduled for this evening, discussion of the annual collision report. And we would request that the commission continue this to your next meeting. Dave Rogers was not able to join us this evening, and I think our discussion would be much more fruitful with his presence. So if we could continue that item.
And is there a date specific for that, Gail, if you can give us?
I believe it's March the 8th.
It's our next meeting.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we continue this to date specific of March the 8th.
And I'll second that. Yes, we can vote.
And that motion carries with Commissioner Fuentes absent.
Great. So we'll go with some city attorney comments, anything?
No comment.
Thank you. Any director's comments?
I just wanted to note that in our second meeting in March, we have a couple of code amendments coming up. Other than that, I think we'll have several traffic items for March the 8th.
That's still on us at this point. Thank you. Commissioners, you have anything?
I want to thank staff for getting back with me with my concern about Aliso Creek. Nikki gave me a email and asked for specifics, and which I graciously gave it to her. Gave her the wrong street name, but that's neither here nor there. And glad we were able to take at least a review of that. I don't know what the actions have been taken, but hopefully we'll get some information back. Other than that, I have no comment.
comment, thank you, Jennifer, for your job tonight. Appreciate it. It was always a good job. Thank you.
I wanted to ask, besides me, is anyone else attending the economic conference tomorrow? All right, thank you.
And I have no comment. So, I'm going to adjourn the meeting to the regularly scheduled meeting of March 8th.